พึ่งแล้วเปิดสิคนสี่พันใช่ไปสิอ่านพึ่งเปิดสิคนฟังดีๆเพราะว่าได้อันเฮ็ดอันผ่านอันต้องมีสีน้ำตาลต้องมีสีน้ำตาลเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นนกแดงเบิ่งค่อยนกแดงเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นเป็ดสีเหลืองเบิ่งค่อยเป็ดสีเหลืองเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นม้าสีฟ้าเบิ่งค่อยม้าสีฟ้าเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นกบสีเขียวเบิ่งค่อยกบสีเขียวเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นแมวสีม่วงเบิ่งค่อยแมวสีม่วงเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นม้าสีขาวเบิ่งค่อยม้าสีขาวเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นแก้สีดำเบิ่งค่อยแก้สีดำเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นปลาสีคำเบิ่งค่อยปลาสีคำเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นนายครูเบิ่งค่อยนายครูเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นเด็กน้อยเบิ่งค่อยเด็กน้อยซึ่งเจ้าเห็นยังค่อยเห็นตัวมีสีน้ำตาลตัวนกสีแดงตัวเป็ดสีเหลืองตัวม้าสีฟ้าตัวกบสีเขียวตัวแมวสีม่วงตัวหมาสีขาวตัวแกะสีดำตัวปลาสีคำกับได้ครูเบิ่งค่อยยกมือขึ้นมัดปึ๊บยกมือขึ้นมัดปึ๊บต้องมีเสียงตัวมีเสียงตัวนกเสียงตัวนกสีหยังตัวแก้เสียงตัวแก้สีหยังเฮ้บัดนี้สีเสียงกันมิสไบรท์มิสโอดัมเอาเชียร์ให้เมื่อที่คนมี10 นาทีเฮ็ดเสียงกันว้าวบ่ได้ซอยกันบ่ได้เมื่อที่คนเฮ็ดผู้เดียวได้เสียงกันเอาสอออกเอาสอออกเขียนชื่อเขียนบัญชีนามสกุลเขียนบัญชีไอ้สิ่งนั้นว้าวบ่ได้ซอยกันบ่ได้เฮ็ดผู้เดียวโอเคสิอันให้10 นาทีแล้วโอเคเฮ็ดว้าวบ่ได้ซอยกันบ่ได้ đều từ cái là rất nhiều andอีก7 นาทีเคี่ยวเฮ็ดเด้อให้มันแล้วอ่านดีๆดมกันบ่ได้ ตัวไหนตัวไหนเฮ็ดบอก
So what does
ได้เสียงจากทางปึ้งบ่ได้
what does brown bear say?
ได้เฮ็ดน้ำฟัง
Dog.
ยกมือทำหมดแล้วเที่ยยกมือ I'm back as Mrs. P. The last question I asked was, if you need more time, raise your hand. And since nobody raised their hand, I assume that you're done because nobody raised their hand. Okay, let's see how well you did. Number 1 says, what color is the bear? Is it A, pink, B, yellow, C, brown, or D, white?
Yellow bear.
Number 2, what color is the dog? A, red, B, orange, C, green, D, white.
Orange dog.
Number 3, what color is the bird? A, red, B, blue, C, purple, D, black. Number 4, what color is the frog? A, white, B, green, C, orange, or D, blue. Number 5, what color is the horse? A, red, B, brown, C, blue, or D, yellow. Okay, raise your hand if you got 100%. What would your can-do descriptors say about you? You don't know colors? You don't know animals? Your listening comprehension? You're in trouble. And over here is my little accommodation quiz for those of you that were wondering. I did a read aloud for them. They were in a somewhat separate setting. So I'm going to give them a minute to kind of share about how they felt and if these accommodations were appropriate or helpful.
I still got 0. I didn't even read.
I did a read aloud.
I know, but I didn't understand.
It was in a language that you still didn't understand. You were just repeating yourself the first time. Maybe one-on-one, but we were still like,
I kept looking for, we kept saying one word over and over, and I thought, okay, that word must mean something, so I've got to find that word that I feel like is in the right place, and I said that I'm all wrong.
And I kept telling them, after a test, read over your questions, check over your answers, all that in the test script. And they were looking at me and then they started erasing. Every time I said something, they were like, that must have been wrong. So they kept erasing. And I was just, my only thing was just to end, like, check over your answers, make sure you double check and read. And every time I said anything, they just looked at me and and they just kept fixing it. This is my special group over here. So, you guys understand the point of this lesson is because we have a lot of English language learners in our school. English is not the first language for many of our students, and sometimes in order to understand and somewhat be empathetic, you have to kind of walk in their shoes. And this was 5-10 minutes at the most of uncomfortable for you. Imagine our students walking in every single day who does not understand the language at all. And this is very basic. It's brown bear, brown bear. And I was going to do something a little bit higher academic, but honestly, the translation for me, brown bear was about as good as it could get for me. And if you were close enough, you would see my little sticky notes in there to how to pronounce some words. Went home, practiced with Grandma yesterday. So I know for me, because I do speak 2 languages, but the translation going back and forth, I honestly really have to think about it. It takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of energy, so that's brown bear. So those of you that are in the upper grade doing things like science, social studies, you can imagine what your students are going through. They don't understand the social language at all, and you compound it with the academic language. So that is what we're doing this morning. I am going to do a little bit of techniques to kind of show you that for something like this, perhaps a little scaffolding, a little picture cues, repetition, you may be able to get it. So we'll see. All right, this is Tomi Sinamta, Chao Heng Yang, which now you know means
brown bear, what do you see?
Okay, on this, I have the word sat, which means animal. And at first, if you're thinking about doing this for your students, at first I had the animals that had the colors, like this was the brown bear, this was the white dog. Then I thought, well, you know what, if you don't know the language, you may think that word means brown. You may think you don't know if it means dog, bear. So that's the reason I chose to use black and white. So hopefully, seeing that, you'll know this means animals. Okay, Tomi,
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 smart word.
Tomi,
Toma,
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 Toma, Toma,
Tono,
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 Tono, Tono,
Toko,
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 Toko, Toko,
Toma,
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 Ma,
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 Ma.
Ma.
So sometimes in our English language, some things sound familiar. Some of the sounds, some of the words. So in my language, when I say those 2 words, you can really hear it. And I know if you're talking about a horse or a dog, but if you're just learning it, ma and ma sound very similar. Okay, and then also when you're doing this with some of your special language, younger students, and probably some of your older students, adding some actions or motions with it. You know how we do bear, you can be like, Tomi, adding things so that they can kind of connect it with the word. You see how doing something like this kind of prepares and provides the background for a lesson like brown bear? Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so we know that these are all sat, which is talking about animals. And we see that because all the animals are black and white. This, we know now we're talking about colors. This is C.
C.
And that's easy because we see colors. C. C nam tan.
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 C cow.
C cow.
C cow.
C cow.
C dang.
C dang.
C dang.
C dang.
C keel.
C keel.
C keel.
C keel.
C fa.
C fa.
Okay. helps them to learn those colors. You know, so it just takes repetition, making sure you're going to, I'm not trying to do all the animals at one time. I'm not trying to do all the colors at one time. So maybe for your younger students, it may just be talking about the brown berries. So just really break it down to meet the needs of your students. Ms. Bortman?
And honestly, I wasn't even trying to learn the letters or how to read any of that. All I was trying to process was the language and the use of the language. So you have to have that in place before the
You put the
reading
letters
and
and the
and the sounds, and if, like,
Because
I
this
really
is
feel-
all foreign, so think about your students. You may have a white picture card that says WHITE to them, but that to them is as good as this is, if they don't know it.
all I was thinking was, okay, white, I need to remember this is white. I couldn't even process both at the same time. It was too much.
So those are just the type of things that I want us to be mindful of as educators. Culture, we've been talking a lot about culture and culture sensitivity. We've had a lot of guest speakers and trainings here, but I found this from the NEA's website. I thought this was a great way to describe it. It says, culture is the sum total of experiences, knowledge, skills, beliefs, values, and interests represented by a diversity of students and adults in our schools. While culture is often defined and perceived by school as a celebration of important people, religions, traditions, and holidays, as well as an appreciation of the customs of different groups, it is also more than that. Culture is as much or as little as the everyday experiences, people, events, smells, sounds, and habits of behavior that characterize students and educators' lives. Culture shapes a person's sense of who he or she is and where he or she fits in the family, community, and society. I want you to take a minute and kind of read over that, and I want to see if we get one person for each table to kind of share what you think that means or what that means to you. Somebody want to start?
I think it's like your lens on life, you know, all of those things shape how you perceive everything. And I like the fact that it includes, it says smell, but somebody has talked before about how something will happen and she smells it and reminds her of her grandmother's house, or her aunt, I think it was, growing up. So I like that it includes all those different aspects, but I just think that culture is kind of like your lens on life and how you see and experience life.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Dukes?
As an educator looking at it, it's hard to teach culture because there's so many dynamics to it. We do holidays around the world, or we teach about a specific culture. You're only getting a little bit of aspects of each one. So it is all encompassing. There's a lot more than just holidays or where they go or what they do. It's, like I say, it's families, the smells, it's their family and how they interact. And that's very hard to teach with so many different cultures.
Our children did a project, a paper doll project for their culture. And I learned more from them telling me how they do things in their family than I think they would have learned had I taught them about Native Americans or anything like that. Because they were seeing it from through their own eyes, and they could tell everybody what it was like more than I can just reading about it.
Great. Ms. Harris?
So when I was just listening to Mr. Dukes talk about teaching culture, and I think kind of what this is saying is we can't really teach culture, we have to share culture, and that you're doing that just by showing up every day and being who you are and sharing who you are with other people, that they're going to pick up, you know, a lot of valuable information just interacting with each other here because we have so much diversity.
Anybody else have something you would like to share, Ms. Boardman?
And I think it builds on the relationships the kids have with each other in the classroom. They can learn and share the things that they do in their home, and they realize that their friends are quite different from them with what they do in their house as opposed to what people do in their house. And I think that comes from spending time actually talking and getting to know your classmates, who they are, as an actual person, rather than trying to teach them.
Exactly. And I think, you know, research indicates that it takes probably like 2 to 3 years to get social language. And that's not even hitting the academic language. It comes as a newcomer that's like any good. I mean, they're learning survival, you know, they're the quiet stage, you're trying to absorb as much as they can. They're trying to learn how do you get to the bathroom? Where is my classroom? All those type of things. So that takes 2 to 3 years to learn all that. So of course the academic is going to be delayed. So I know some of you say, well, they speak English, but I don't understand why they're not picking up, because it's really 2 different things. Social language, communication just with friends and family, it's completely different from academic language. And then I also wanted to share this video, it's also from the AA.
I came to America when I was 3 years old.
Back in kindergarten, I didn't know any English. I was usually placed in the back of the room, given crayons.
Myself, I felt like I didn't belong.
Basically, I was mainly on my own.
I had a hard time. I didn't know what was going on. Even as a child, it was unfair to me. It felt like it wasn't right.
Personally, it was strange and difficult at the beginning.
I was never asked, to share what I had. I knew a lot. I mean, when I was sitting there, and students were doing, writing numbers or adding and subtracting, I knew what they were doing. I just couldn't be a part of it because I didn't speak the language, and so I felt like essentially I was punished, for not speaking my first language.